Greetings all, Nick here from Those Hairy Gamers, and welcome to Hairy Nick, a channel I decided to make because I've decided I want to talk about a lot of really niche topics, particularly tabletop games, card games, that kind of stuff. And Those Hairy Gamers is really meant to be a more accessible things for gamers in general. For example, this video is going to be talking about the tabletop game X-Wing. And I feel like while that's great for X-Wing fans, the people that watch Those Hairy Gamers in general probably won't get too much out of it. So that's why I'm putting it here. We're going to be doing some more in-depth videos on games like X-Wing, Magic, Infinity, that kind of thing on this channel. So if you're like a real hardcore list or deck builder in those games, this is the channel for you guys. What I want to talk about today is X-Wing, a game that I utterly love. And FFG, the makers of X-Wing, have just announced what's called an Ace Pack, where they take one or two existing ships from the game and give them better upgrades. This is guns for hire, and oh my god, have we been waiting for this. For those of you who played against me, you know that I'm a massive fan of Scum, and the fix for these two ships have just been a long time coming. We're still waiting on a fix for the T-65 X-Wing. However, at least with the X-Wing, that has a usable build, and indeed it made the world's final with Biggs, R2 and integrated astromech. These two ships here do not have viable builds for anything competitive at the moment, so fucking yay! Thank you, FFG! Basically, in the pack you have a repainted version of the Star Viper and the Kirax fighter. I think it's pronounced Kirax. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. I have tried looking it up. I cannot find a reliable reference on how to pronounce that, but I'm going to say Kirax from now on. You get new pilots and new upgrades, which is designed to give these two ships builds that are far more competitive. The biggest aspect of these are the new ship titles. Basically upgrade cards that you can take with these ships that don't affect any of the other upgrades they can take. The Kirax, for example, has a new title. It never had a title before, so it's not going to get in the way of our other upgrades. The Star Viper already has a title, but this new title allows you to take that one as well, as part of a special condition of the card, so again, it doesn't get in the way. First and foremost, let's look at those titles. Right, first of all, the Kirax fighter, the Vac Psi title. The squad point of each of your equipped upgrade cards is reduced by 1 to a minimum of 0. Cool. You may equip 3 different modification upgrades. This is big. Now, one of the complaints I'm hearing about this is that it is just too much of a jackhammer, massive point reduction fix. I completely disagree with that. The Kirax currently is just so overcosted and so under-equipped. It's only got those basic 2 actions, the focus and target lock. This really is what it requires. Now, you can go the route with this of putting things like engine upgrade, auto-thrusted, vector thrusters, and giving it all that maneuverability, but you got to remember, it doesn't really have the dial to capitalize on that. Those kind of actions are best suited to a Protectorate Starfighter, for example, which costs the same buy-in value as a Kirax fighter. The way I see it, you really have to use the Kirax as a highly customizable ship. The Protectorate Starfighter doesn't have illicit slots. It doesn't have missile slots. It can't take 3 different modifications. Instead of giving it things like engine upgrades and vector thrusters, I'm very keen on the new upgrade, Pulse Ray Shield. At a reduced point cost, I think for 1 point that is worth it. You can still think about engine upgrades and auto thrusters. I mean, for 4 points that is an amazing combo, but you definitely don't have to. There are a lot of good modifications that come in at a cheaper cost which would be worth it. Stealth Device, 2 points, sort of becomes relevant in some builds, but the beauty of Stealth Device is you can also take Scavenger Crane on the Kirax, which means you can repair your Stealth Device over and over again. To me, that makes it worth it. There's no other ship that can currently do that, or well, I guess anything with an illicit upgrade can take Stealth Device and Scavenger Crane, but nothing can do it at a reduced point cost. To be able to field those 2 cards for 3 points rather than 5 points is quite massive, I think. And that's where the Kirax is going to shine. It's going to be those combos that are really going to push it forward and hopefully make an impact on the meta. One of the ships I really want to talk about before we get on to the Star Viper is Talonbane Cobra, the Pilot Skill 9 pilot for the Kirax, which is already in the game. A lot of people are sort of losing their minds going, oh my god, you can give him vectored and engine upgrades and auto thrusters. The issue with that is if you look at the point cost of that build, you are getting a slightly worse, slightly more expensive Fenn Rau. I guess you could justify that if you already had Fenn Rau on the table and you wanted Another Fenrir, kind of. I don't really compare Talonbane Cobra to Fenrir, but I think it's a mistake to try and force him down the path of being an ace. Talonbane Cobra's ability is really strong. I think engine upgrades and auto thrusters are both a very strong combination on him. Engine upgrades is a card that I always love to play on him, even though it's overbloated and overcost and whatever. His ability all relates to range, and having the boost ability is powerful. It either puts you into range to get that powerful range 1 shot, or gets you into range 3, making it almost impossible for your opponent to hit you. And now that you can get auto thrusters on for the same cost with engine upgrades, that engine upgrades alone used to cost is massive. That 4 points I feel is worth it on Talonbane Cobra. But I would not put vector thrusters on him. I just do not think it's worth it. I want to go down the path of making him a bit more tanky. I would put Pulsed Ray Shield on Talonbane Cobra. I want to give him that extra flexibility. I want to be able to regen that 1 point of shield. I want to give him a little bit of a tanky ability. These are things that Fenrir can't do. You've got to remember, you've got to leverage the advantages a ship has internally with itself. If you try and make one pilot turn into another pilot, you're never going to quite get the same result. So, Talonbane Cobra, I'm very confident is going to become a very competitive pilot. He will not be an ace. This is a very important thing to remember. Right, next we have the Star Viper Mark II. This is awesome. It comes in at a -3 point cost. You may equip 2 different titles, as I said before. It already has a title card, so you can equip this and Virago, which is Prince Zizor's special private Star Viper. When performing a barrel roll, you must use the 1 bank left or right template instead of the 1 straight. Now, the reason I think they've included both the left and the right here, because I mean obviously you can use the template and flip it over, is when you announce the barrel roll action, you're going to have to announce which bank maneuver you're going to use, and then you must execute it if able after that point. You can't put it down and then go, oops, nope, that doesn't work, and try and do the other direction. If you're able to do it, you must. Similar to how you must do barrel roll now, where you have to try and you must do it in the direction you declared if you are able. It's very, very powerful. -3 cost. Honestly, I was really expecting a much bigger point reduction for the Star Viper. It is just so overly costed. It's not funny. But 3 points with that bank maneuver, yeah, that makes sense. I get it. Being able to barrel roll with a bank maneuver, that ability, that barrel roll is going to be amazing for arc dodgers. Because sometimes when you dodge an arc, it's very difficult to keep the ship you're dodging in your arc. If you can bank around them sideways, you have a much better opportunity of keeping them in your arc, and that's pretty big. The only caveat with that is Star Vipers do not have pilots with high pilot skills. Arc dodging is always best done on pilot skill 8s or 9s. Their highest pilot skill pilot, and it still is even with this pack, is Prince Zizor at pilot skill 7. So it's going to be good in that regard, but not great. If we could just have a pilot skill 8 or 9, this ability would be insane. But perhaps they were factoring that in when they made this card. Maybe they considered that too overpowered when playtesting. So that's cool. I completely understand that. Basically, with the Star Vipers right now, the only viable pilot that seems to make anything remotely competitive work is Guri. And Guri is a strong card with Mind Link. You can put her with a couple of aces, for example. What's also cool about Guri is her ability is very positioning reliant. So the fact that you can reduce her cost by 3 and give her those banking barrel rolls is pretty powerful. It's not going to make her, oh my god, incredible, this is the best ship ever, but I think it's going to make it, okay, yes, this is accurately costed. This is a build that is now viable. I'm thinking Guri, Star Viper Mark II, Virago, auto thrusters, advanced sensors, and if you really want, you can put on an inertial dampener. I wouldn't, because I don't like to use stress on those kinds of things, because stress breaks advanced sensors. I love advanced sensors on any ship with a barrel roll, and now that I can advance sensors these 2 different kinds of barrel rolls, that's powerful. Basically, you lock in the maneuver. When it comes to activating that ship, I can now barrel roll left or right, forwards or backwards, essentially 4 different kinds of barrel rolls, before or after my maneuver. That means when I activate the ship, not when I choose the dial, when I activate the ship, I have about 8 different choices of where that ship could potentially end up. It was already really cool. Like, I love advanced sensors on Zuckuss, for example, because his title gives him the barrel roll, and that alone is quite powerful. His ability gives him a nice big shot. You can barrel roll and use the K-turn to hook right exactly around behind one of your enemy ships. It's quite strong, and I only foresee it getting better, especially considering the ship has S-loops. Oh, this is going to be so good. Now, apart from that, the article doesn't really reveal much in the way of pilots, except for this little fella here, Mr. Victor Hell. Let's bring him up here. Victor Hell is a Kirax fighter pilot, pilot skill 7. After defending, if you do not roll exactly 2 defense dice, the attacker receives 1 stress token. Meh. Meh is my response to that. It's stress control, but it's very conditional. Your opponent can just choose not to shoot him. I can't see how this is reliable. Look, pilot skills, in my eyes, should be the most powerful abilities in the game. The second most powerful is upgrade cards. The problem I have with this is there's already an upgrade card, Rebel Captive, which always gives the stress token to your opponent whenever they shoot you. Doesn't matter how many green dice you roll, they always give you a stress token. So I look at this and think, well, this is just a harder version of that to use. If it was just a case of whenever they get shot, he gives them a stress token, it still has the factor of your opponent can choose not to shoot him. It's a very, very, very light stress control. It's almost like the old Imperial Cash Scarlet, where you need to trigger these really annoying conditions just to get the damn stress control to work. In a game where Asajj Ventress exists, I just don't see much use out of this. I will say, though, that he is a 25 point cost, 7 pilot skill Kirax fighter with a EPT slot. That alone is quite good value, considering Talonbane Cobra is 29 points. A full 4 more points just to get pilot skill 9. However, Talonbane Cobra's ability is far better than this guy's. But having said all that, how would we activate this ability? How would we get it to work? FFG in the article have suggested 2 things. Recommended build they did here, and they recommend using Expose. Now, Expose is interesting because it reduces your agility by 1. That means you would not be rolling 2 dice on the defense unless you're at range 3. So it doesn't work at all ranges. It does get a better attack, but it also makes your ship a bit easier to kill. I don't like that. I don't like that combination, because even if you do give out stress tokens, they can still hit you with a couple of really big attacks, and they get 2 stress tokens for the trouble, but in the end, you still lost a ship. I don't like that combo at all. Eva's experimental interface, yep, that's a cool little thing, using those together, and with the Vaxi title, that goes down from a 7 to a 5. It's okay. Vectored and Pulsed Ray Shield. No, I don't see the synergy in this build. The pilot skill alone is not really enough to make it worthwhile. They've also suggested Scavenger Crane and Stealth Device. Okay, let me just quickly run you through those cards. They haven't done a nice big picture like the last one. But Stealth Device increases your agility by 1, but it pops when your ship gets hit. At 3 costs, that was always a bit too bloaty for the Kirax fighter. But for 2 costs, that's not bad. And considering it's triggering his ability, yeah, I can kind of see that. And what's more is you can take Scavenger Crane, which whenever a ship at range 1 to 2 is destroyed, you can choose a discarded Torp, Missile, Bomb, Cannon, Turret or Modification upgrade that was face down and flip it face up. And you might lose the Scavenger Crane afterwards, but that's okay. Even on 1 use, it's pretty strong. The idea is if you lose that Stealth Device, which is helping him activate his ability, you can still get it back. All it takes is 1 ship to die within range 1 to 2. That's not too hard to activate. If your opponent's flying a swarm, that's going to come back quite easily. But even if not, I mean, it still triggers off the other ships within your squad. Staying within range 1 to 2 of your own ships is pretty straightforward. So I like it. I think that combination is much better than Expose. And for 3 points and 2 points, 5 points, going down to 3 points, Stealth Device becomes 2 points, Scavenger Crane becomes 1 point. That seems viable. That seems doable. And the ship itself has 3 attack dice, is going to have this 2 agility, constantly turning into a 3 agility, and a tiny little bit of stress control. Yeah, 28 points, that's not bad. That's that's okay in my mind. I don't think it's going to make the upper echelons of list building, but it's a cool concept nonetheless. So in terms of what they completely revealed, that's pretty much all we can see. Here's the slew of upgrade cards. A lot of stuff we already have. There's Stealth Device, there's Vectored Thrusters that gives your ship a barrel roll, there's Pulsed Ray Shield. At the beginning of the end phase, you may take a Ion token to recharge 1 shield point, and it can only go on ships with 1 shield to begin with, so Star Vipers and Kirax, perfect. There's the Star Viper Mark II card, which we just saw, the Vaxi. Now, we have what looks to be Harpoon missiles, which looks like it gives out this Harpooned condition card. Now, we can't really make out too much. I'm just going to zoom right in here and take a look at this. When you are hit by an attack, and if there is at least one uncancelled crit result, each other ship at range 1 suffers 1 damage. Then discard this card and receive 1 face down damage card. Now the problem with that is you have to get that onto the ship already. So it means you have to, I guess, hit them with the Harpoon missile and then give that ship a crit. That seems like a very difficult thing to activate. I mean, you're giving each other ship at range 1 damage and then a face down damage card, but Assault Missile does that just by itself. It's almost like this is a crap version of Assault Missile. But we don't know the circumstances in which this card gives this condition to the ship, so I can't really assume too much at this point. They've got to reveal it. They've got to actually show us what the hell's on these cards. It might be awesome. It might, Harpoon missile might be an automatic. Here, have the Harpoon thing. There, you got it. Too bad. Which is cool. And maybe it doesn't shed Harpoon. Maybe from that point on, every time that ship gets a crit, that thing activates. Which would make it awesome. But we don't know. It might discard after 1 use. This might be particularly difficult to activate that condition card. We just don't know yet. We also have these 2 condition cards here. And we know they must be relating to this pilot here, the TH, because it's like Threek or something like that. And there's a little condition counter here. And a lot of people have been talking about this guy like he's some kind of shape-shifting mimic. What do they call it in episode 2? The Changeling. Maybe this is a Changeling character, who knows. Could be shape-shift and mimicked or something like that, which is interesting. I'm thinking it's going to be something like at the start of setup, you give one of your opponent's ship that card, and then this character has the same pilot ability as them. That'd be cool. I mean, it's on a pilot skill 4 Star Viper, so it's not overpowered. Even if you get like Dengar or something like that, he's not going to be incredible. But I don't know. There's going to be some good combinations with that. What really stumps me with this is the fact that there's 2 condition cards. Yeah, Threek leaving the pilot skill does not. Maybe one of these goes on Threek, and one of these... Oh, I keep saying Threek. It's a Threvek. I don't know what the fuck he's called. One of these goes on him, one of them goes on the other pilot. And maybe he gets their ability, or they get some bonus or negative effect from it. I don't know. I'm not going to make any assumptions, but yeah. Just based on what we can see, that looks pretty cool. One last thing that we haven't had revealed in this article is this. And a lot of people are assuming it's ion discharge. I think that's probably fair enough given where those letters are and what the spacing is. What we're really hoping for, after you receive an ion token, you may choose an enemy ship at range 1. If you do, discard that ion token, then choose a ship. I think this is going to shed ion tokens and give them to nearby ships. If it does that, it's going to be expensive, but that's okay. The reason that would be so epic is because Pulse Ray Shield. Pulse Ray Shield, an ion discharge on a Kirax, means it can regen and then just give a ship at range 1. I'm going to guess range 1 based on how these things usually work. It can shed his ion and give it to a nearby ship, and that is so powerful. So yes, that is the Guns for Hire pack. They're scheduling to drop this in Q3 of 2017. The third quarter ends September. Let's give them the unbenefit of the doubt because it's FFG. Let's say probably around October, possibly early November if we're really unlucky. They've been pretty good with their releases lately, but they have pushed things quite far back in the past, so I'm not going to get too excited about this. One more thing to note about this before I finish up is this pack, SWX73. Now, the highest number we currently have from the spoiled products, which is the next wave, which has the Aztec gunship, the Scourge bomber, and the TIE aggressor, ends in SWX66. That means that there are 6 other products which are scheduled to release either before or right after this one, which is cool. I don't think they're going to quite squeeze out another wave before this. I mean, we're talking third quarter. We're already in June, so over the next 3 months. But it could mean that we get this and then a wave almost immediately after, which would be pretty friggin' cool. 6 other products, though. I mean, if we get 6 more ships, I ain't complaining. I'd really love, and this is probably being a bit overly optimistic, for one of those 6 things to be the X-Wing fix. Here's what I'm picturing, guys. Here's what I'm picturing. Think of the Interceptor Aces pack. We got 2 Interceptors, except we get 2 X-Wings. One representing the most elite of the Rebel Alliance with a Rogue Squadron title card. Or maybe a Blue Squadron title card if they want to go down the route of copying what was in Rogue One, for example. Maybe they want to make a Rogue One X-Wing pack. The second being a Partisan X-Wing. The X-Wings used by Saul Guerrera. I know it might be a bit too much to hope for, but honestly, look, I'm a Scum player, and I hate that this game just doesn't have X-Wings in it right now. We want to see more X-Wings. The game is called X-Wing. Let's get X-Wings back on the table and not just bloody Biggs or something. I know Biggs is alright, but to be honest, people play Biggs not because he's in an X-Wing. They play him because of his pilot ability. People would play Biggs with that pilot ability regardless of what ship he was in. That's why I don't consider X-Wings as part of the meta at all, even though people play Biggs. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.